Okay, hi everyone, this is Damien in American Life and Culture, and today we're talking about table manners, 用餐的礼貌, 用餐的礼貌. Now, maybe if you go overseas, you'll be invited to a wedding or to a restaurant, an expensive restaurant, and you'll sit down and you'll see something like this, and maybe you'll think, oh my god, so many things, which ones do I have to use? So today we're going to introduce some of the tools that we use for eating in dining out in Western food, and how to use them, how to know which ones to use for which kinds of food, and then also when we're eating, what are some things to pay attention to. Okay, so 那今天我们就是要介绍那个外国人用的餐具，然后每一种餐具是用在哪一种食物上面然后在你用餐的时候一些要注意的事项。So moving right along, here we have the very basic tools for eating. We call them cutlery. 餐具 cutlery. Some people call them silverware. And here you've seen these before. 都很熟悉 knife and fork and spoon, but you can see there are some different styles. Now, sizes. Now, these two are our basic main course 主餐用的 knife and fork. Main course knife and fork. Here's our dessert spoon and a smaller knife and fork that may be used for your appetizer or your salad. So let's look at these a bit more closely in a minute. Now, knives, apart from the basic knife we just saw, you might get some special knife. Now, I think you've probably seen this. If you go to 我家牛排 or 快乐牛排, something like this, you'll see a steak knife. Okay, specially used for steak because it has a serrated edge, this kind of edge here. Okay, and it's a steak knife, 牛排刀. How about this one? Do you know what that's for? It's a wide, flat knife. This is called a fish knife. And of course, for eating fish, maybe for helping to get the bones, separate the meat from the bones. And these small knives here, these are specially for putting butter on bread. So they're called butter knives. 奶油刀. Okay. So that's the knives. Now here we can also see some different kinds of spoon. Now this is our basic spoon. This is called a dessert spoon. Okay, used for our dessert 甜点. Okay, and in Taiwan it's just a standard spoon. But look at this one. Do you know what that's for? Yes, that's the soup spoon. Okay, now in Taiwan, all spoons are soup spoons, 汤匙, right? But in Western food, we separate between a dessert spoon and a soup spoon. This smaller one here, probably a teaspoon for stirring your tea or your coffee. Okay, so that's the basic tools. Now, when you sit down, you'll see all of them laid out in front of you like this, and you'll think, oh my goodness, which one should I use? Okay, pretty easy. Usually we start from the outside. For these, we notice we have the knives and the spoons on the right side. We use our right hand, and the forks on the left side. We use our left hand for those, and we start from the ones, the cutlery on the outside. So remember, in the Western food, soup is usually an appetizer. Soup 就是一种开胃菜, a 开胃, yeah. So it's served first. So they will be on the outside. Now you might have a salad after that. It's also an appetizer. So you see here we have our salad fork on the left would be used second. Okay, so first this one, then that one. Then, well, a teaspoon, we could use that any time for our tea and coffee, but here we have, moving inside, the dinner fork and the dinner knife. Of course, we use these two together. And you'll see our plates, we have different size plates. Okay, this is a salad plate, a smaller one, and this is the bigger one, is the dinner plate. Of course, they won't be on top of each other. That's just to show you. You probably also have a bread plate in here, and you'll see the bread knife or butter knife maybe on top of that. Sometimes sometimes you'll have a small dessert spoon or a cake fork. They might be put in front of you. And notice there are 3 kinds of glass here. Now you won't always get 3 kinds of glass, but you might have one which is for water, a bigger glass would be for red wine, and a smaller glass will be for the white wine. And we also have an important thing here, your canjin, your napkin. Okay, we'll talk about that next. Now this is just a simple dining setting that you might see in a kind of diner or everyday restaurant. So we still have our soup spoon on the outside. We have a salad fork there, knife and fork, and our napkin is on top of our plates. There's our one glass here, and a plate for the bread and for our tea and coffee there. Okay, now here is a more formal dining setting. You can see the 3 knives. Where do you start? Start from the outside, 从最外面的餐具开始使用. Okay, now you'll see here that this on top of the plate here is the napkin, and that may be something you're not so familiar with. Okay, because in Taiwan we don't tend to use cloth napkins like this. Now, what do we do with the napkin? Okay, correct thing is like this. Put it on your lap, unfold it, put it on top of your knees, so any food that falls off the table won't go on your clothes. Okay, some do not. It's not a handkerchief. Okay, please don't use it to blow your nose. And only babies tuck their napkin in like this. We do that for small children, not for adults. Okay, put it on your knees, put it on your lap. Okay, now another thing which is very interesting, of course, because while you're eating, the waiters will be coming and going, and they'll be looking to see if you've finished. So, and they're not going to ask you, have you finished? Can I clear this? Overseas, they won't do this. We have a kind of code, okay, a kind of symbol to show the waiter if we've finished or not. Now, if you're just resting, okay, you're talking to the other people at the table and not eating, then we put our knife and fork on an angle like this. This is the European style. This is the American style, but the idea is the same. They're not together and they're on an angle. Now, if you've finished the meal, then you put your knife and fork together. Again, you can see this is the European style, this is the American style, but the point is they are parallel, okay, they are together. Now, it doesn't matter if you have food on your plate or not. If you put your knife and fork like that, the waiter will take your food away, okay? So if you haven't finished, which one do you use? If you still want to keep eating, put it like this, okay? If you haven't finished, put it like this. If you've finished, you just put it like that, and the waiter or waitress will take your food away. Okay, now, so we know about the tools for our cutlery for eating. Now, how about how do we use these tools? Alright, here are some examples of how not to use them. The first part of good table manners is how do you hold the knife and fork? Okay, and obviously it's not like any of these. The correct way we can see here is to have your fingers and wrists on top of the knife and on top of the fork, with this finger resting on the top in each case. Keep your elbows by your side, okay, and of course the knife in the right hand, the fork in the left hand. Now, how do we use it? Again, a little bit of difference between America and Europe here. We usually put the fork into the meat. If we're cutting some meat, put it near the edge of the meat and then cut off a small piece of meat. Okay, now again, notice the way we're holding the knife, not like this still. Now, Americans will, at that time, they will often put their knife down and they will pick up the fork with their right hand, move the fork from their left hand to their right hand, and then eat the meat like this. Now, Europeans will, after they've cut off the meat, normally just use the fork to take the meat directly to their mouth in the left hand. Okay, both are okay. You can decide which one you prefer. Okay, here's a few more no-nos for eating at the table. What's wrong here? Doesn't look very elegant, does it? This guy's leaning on the table. Notice his elbows are on the table. Okay, try not to lean on the table with your elbows. That's not considered good manners. And he's also got some celery there. He's using his fingers to put it in his mouth. Now, there are a few things we can use fingers for. We can use fingers for bread. Sometimes you can use your fingers for French fries, okay, but not for other things. So all other things you should use a knife and fork. Okay, now here's a big cultural difference, because we know our friends in Japan, they show that they really are enjoying their noodle soup, their ramen, by making a lot of noise. Okay, now in Western manners, this is you can see a sign here: soup should be seen and not heard. So slurping is considered to be bad manners. Please try not to make any noise while you're drinking your soup, and also burping, 打嗝, okay, try not to burp, because it's again considered bad manners to make noises like that at the table. And if you do accidentally, just say excuse me. Okay, now here are some other no-nos. Again, a bit different. In Taiwan, we're used to drinking the soup directly from the bowl, but in Western table manners, this is not considered polite. You should use your spoon to drink all of the soup. Okay, of course, we don't lick the plate, and you can see this guy using his knife to put the food in his mouth. Again, very bad manners. Just cut the food into small pieces and put the small pieces into your mouth. Okay, now when you've put the food in your mouth, of course, just like in Taiwan, okay, so don't put too much in your mouth at the same time. Close your mouth while you're eating, while you're chewing, okay, and don't talk while you've got food in your mouth. So finish chewing your food and swallow the food, and then you can talk to other people. Okay, so good idea to cut your food into small pieces. Another thing here, you'll see, the Western food will have vegetables, meat, maybe fries, all on the one plate. It's considered good manners to put a little bit of everything on your fork. So a little bit of meat, a little bit of vegetable, maybe some fries on your fork together. Okay, so there we have it. That's the basics of table manners in a Western society. Just remember, first of all, we looked at the different kind of tools that we use, the knives and forks. Just remember, if you're not sure, we start from the outside ones and work towards the middle. And then in terms of eating, okay, we cut small pieces of food, put them together on our fork, and then we when we're eating, make as little noise as possible, no slurping, no burping, and keeping our mouth closed while we chew, and waiting till we've finished our food before we talk to anybody. Okay, now if you can remember these things, remember we spend a lot of time eating in our life, so you'll be able to enjoy some good times in good food with your friends in Western countries, and you'll feel very comfortable. Okay, good luck with that.